So Emily and I met up in Manzanita, Oregon, doing a program called Word and Image. And I'd like Emily to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, excellent. So, yeah, so my name's Emily Ransdell, and I wanted you to know that I am first and foremost a writer. I'm a poet. I hold MFAs from the University of Montana and Pacific University in Oregon. And my recent collection of poems, One Finch Singing is the name of it, won the Lewis Award in Poetry and was published last year. I'm also a teacher of poetry, and I teach at a community arts center in Manzanita, Oregon, which is in a beautiful little spot on the North Oregon coast. And I'm active there in numerous activities to foster writing and the arts in general. Specifically, I founded a program that has grown really big, and thank God there are a lot of organized people involved with it now. It's called Word and Image, and it's a jury collaboration between artists and writers. So we have 12 writers and 12 artists, and we pair them at random, and each one of them is challenged to create new work in response to what the other has submitted into the project. And the idea, you might have heard the word ekphrasis. It means poems in response to art. And we have kind of expanded that definition to turn the tables to include in our project art in response to poems, which you don't hear as often. But as founder of the event, it's often my job not only to speak about how the process works, but also to try to elicit a certain kind of spirit in the program, and which by that I mean that sometimes there are artists and writers that I have to kind of coax out of their comfort zone. You know, it's easy to write about a piece of art, about being the key word, and maybe it's easy to create art that perhaps illustrates a poem or complements it. But I really wanted to encourage people to move beyond the literal interpretation into I don't know, I guess you could say a more emotional one, more something that is evoked through a deeper discovery of their work. So Melissa had been one of our first artists when we I think we started the program in 2015, and Melissa was one of the first ones, and it was really clear to me right away that she got that. There was no coaxing needed from Melissa. But you know, there were others who just really were uncertain how to do it, what to do. So for a subsequent year, Melissa and I put together a video presentation that we now show to the participants as a kickoff, and which we speak to the notion of what it means to respond. And Melissa and I swapped work, and we actually did the exercise ourselves. She painted in response to a couple of my poems, and I wrote some poems in response to a couple of her paintings to help people get to see what the process was like in action. We don't have time to show that to you today, but we do want to give you just a taste of it.
What's behind me here is the painting that Emily responded to with a poem, and it was such an honor to me. So if you could read that.
Yeah, can you get it any closer?
I can.
It might help because there are details in it that the poem refers to.
I might have it too close now. Let's see.
Yeah, all right. So here it is. And the first thing I noticed when I took a look at it was how sad the eyes are. And it made me feel, not think, but it made me feel a kind of a longing of some kind. And I saw that face as kind of having two sides, and I saw the flame in the chest and the tightly bunched flowers. And then I noticed that woman's, it looked to me like she had an earring missing. I later learned I don't think that's what it was, but so here's the poem, Lost Earring. Don't they say sadness first shows in the eyes? Just look at me, split like lightning striking a lonely tree. Here is my flaming heart, my burning bones unseen, sorrow like a white bird unbraiding me with its wings. It is not that I want to die, but I am weary. I still believe in goodness, but these days I keep it close to my chest. A box of unbloomed blossoms clenching their little fists. Have I forgotten what kindness is? Just when I thought I would break with sadness, the world began to open its tender hands. A stranger stepping up to return my favorite silver earring before I even noticed it was gone.
And I find this interesting because this painting is called She Breathed in Spirit. And so this earring here, which there is only one, is actually Sanskrit for breathe.
Mm.
And for me, I never really saw her as sad, more just, spiritually settled. So this is where we begin, is Emily and I are planning to work together today. And I'm going to be working down on my journal and showing you how I do a page from beginning to end. So if we can go ahead and highlight my journal page here, this will be one way for me just to show you kind of where we're headed. So this is how I initially prep a page. So I'm going to show that in just a minute. And then this is sort of a finished page. And I like to do some kind of creative lettering with it. So I've got the background prepped with the spray stains, and then I've used some collage elements, and then I've done some lettering. And so this one says, believe in what your heart wants to create. So what I'll do is start with a blank page, which, some people will feel really kind of stymied when they're sitting with a blank page, trying to decide to even where to get started. But I like to use a method where I use spray stains, and these are called distress spray stains. They're made by Ranger, and these are Jim Holt's brand. I'm kind of crazed about these. So what I do is I start with water, and you can, if you have a spray bottle, you spray some down fairly generously. Also, if you didn't have a spray bottle, you could just take some water and kind of flick it down. And then you're going to take your stains and just kind of randomly pick some colors, maybe 2 or 3. And sometimes weirder combinations are better than things that, you might expect. So that's the way we're going to start. And then you just take your page here and you dunk it down. And depending on how you want it to look, like this might have spots on it. Let's see how, that's kind of cool. Actually, I like that quite well. So I think we're just going to leave it like it is. So that is our background. And, you've got that big white space over there, but white spaces don't scare me at all. And they actually leave an opening for us to do lettering. So we're just going to leave that like that. And I'm going to clean off the space here real quick. Kind of a cardinal sin to clean off all this good stain, because normally I would be just prepping some more pages with all that. Okay, so while that dries, well, actually, while it's drying, I want to show you that these stains just start playing together on the page. So even though you're not doing anything, you can see that they're beginning to blend and become more interesting. And you can also kind of let it dribble a little bit and get a little more interesting. You can also do something like press something in there. Sometimes I like at this point, when it's wet, to just press even a stamp in there with a dry stamp. You can also press with a stamp that is dipped in something. So you can see there's a little bit there now. It may or may not stay because it's pretty wet there. And let me just show you one more thing we could do is get some stain there, dip that in, and then just add a little something on the edge. So now we don't have a blank space anymore, or not as much blank. So a lot of times when you start with your page like this, it kind of starts to tell the story for you. You've got this blue over here, that maybe could be water or sky or anything you want it to be. And then while that's drying, I'm just going to take out, these are some things that I thought maybe I would have use for. So there's some of these, and I'm not really sure exactly what story I wanted to tell. I thought that I might want to use this. Then I went over it with a little bit of a gold. If I decided I wanted a glistening gold, if I want a moon on it. These I've just printed off the internet. So I like using the black and white things that you can then go over either with transparent gold, or sometimes I use these gold and high flow acrylics. And let me show you one thing that's super cool. So this is fairly transparent because it's high flow. It's going to be, oh, there we go. Very messy. So we can take some of that and just paint it over like that. And then instead of having a gold moon, we could have a pink moon. So I find my journal is just kind of like a place to play. So yeah, so there's another way we could use that. So it's not necessarily just what you print off, but it can be, you can add and change things up. And I have one image that I decided I wanted to use for sure. This one here. And I'll show you why I decided to save the innies and the outies, I'll say. Now, this image I decided to use because Emily has a poem in her book that I'm going to be responding to. And there was this is a poem called Everywhere a River. And there was a phrase in it that I liked. It's one line. It says, sometimes you have to tell a story your entire life to get it right. And this is Edith Wharton. She was an author, lived in the Victorian times up into the early 1900s. And so I thought it was appropriate that she would be telling her story. So now we're just going to find a place, that looks like it's drying pretty well, where we might like to have Edith sitting with her dogs. So you can see how it looks quite different depending on where you put her. So I'm not sure exactly where she's going to go. But one thing I always try to encourage people is, you know, if you have something with a nice outline like that, if you can save the outie part, and let's say that we're going to have her there. Then I'm going to take something to kind of block out an overspray here. Keep that from on my computer. And then we're going to take, I think we'll use the blue one here and just do a quick spritz like that. And then we're going to create a little shadow that's in her shape. And that's not as clear as I would like it to be. I could go and make it more clear, but it is just a shadow, so it doesn't necessarily have to be super clear. So now that she's got a shadow there, I'm going to have to put her in front of it. There. Or not. I mean, I can always change that around too. These are some other things I had to consider playing with. There was a fish here. The fish might make more sense with something blue there. And there were some flowers on that cactus I liked. There was this hummingbird. So, oh, and then this, I really liked this bunny. I think maybe I'm going to go with that. And that. So let me go ahead and do some cutting. I started some of the cutting of all of these just to make it not take quite so long. So when I cut, I like to cut all the way up where
We
just,
we can't see anything.
I like to cut all the way up where you cut all the white off. And that way it just looks like it's living on the page. You know, you can't really tell that it's cut out once we glue it down. And I'll show you how that is. So Emily, do you approve of her story here?
Yes.
Does it give you any more ideas?
Well,
Or-
it was kind of amazing how she changed once those wings got behind her.
Yes.
It just kind of opened up. Mhm.
And then the bunny, if it's running away, I mean, we could have it running at her or we could have it running away, and it evokes a different feeling, depending on where you put the bunny, which direction it's going. So, okay, so now we've got some wings and we've got a bunny. So, we can look at if the bunny's coming at her. I really think I want the bunny running away. And it seems like if you get it close over here, it stands out a little bit more. So I don't know what exactly this is trying to say, but we're just going to carry on. Now I'm going to take, this is a Scotch glue stick. It's permanent. I used to always use matte medium, but I'm finding in some of these applications where we're trying to, well, especially if you're traveling, but even now it's an easy way to do this, and stick it down super well, without making as much mess and not having to wait for it to dry, because the matte medium, you're always having to wait for it to dry. Okay. So let's stick little bunny. I think I'm going to make it kind of, that looks like it's leaping away, escaping from something. And then we're going to put this one. Sometimes if I want to make sure to get it right in a certain place, I will make some marks. So it makes sure it goes back there. This case, it doesn't matter all that much. Yeah, so these glue sticks are great if you're doing some traveling and you want to, you know, have your journal and maybe cut up brochures and things while you're going on your way and stick little pieces down. I have other travel tools. I like certain pencils. There are these Derwent Inktense pencils, and these are fantastic. They're colored pencils, but you can also activate them with water. So let's say, oh, this one's really crunchy, a lot of it kind of. There we go. So that looks good just the way it is, but if we took a brush and activated it, I've even activated it with water with my finger, dipping it in a water bottle. So, you know, whatever you have, it makes it interesting when you activate that. It makes it a little deeper. Well, now she's got those sticking behind her. Okay. Nobody's going to know what those are coming out of her head. And that's her. Interesting. There's some ink that's come through, that spray stain that's come through, and you can see the face in there. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's kind of an interesting effect. I would almost be interested in capturing that by turning it over. That's one thing about these spray stains, is that they can be activated anytime you have water come back around. See, so her face is getting multicolored here. It's kind of interesting, really. Okay, so now we've got our major elements down here. And you know, you can leave her just the color she is, or like we could paint her dress pink, or we could paint her doggies pink, or whatever color you want to use. And I thought about using one of these. I think this is going to be too big for her hat now. I was considering putting her this direction, and then we would have had room for this. So let's go to our rabbit here. One thing I'm thinking is because he's moving, we can use his trail and, you know, make a trail where he is going. And I'll put it like he's been behind her. So we can write our words coming through here. And let me get a marker. So our words are, sometimes you have to tell a story your entire life to get it right. So I'm going to start here and write with kind of small words because there's a lot to say here. Sometimes.
Or maybe I could chat a little bit while you're doing that, since that'll probably take a minute. The question then is, well, where did the words come from? And that's going to be part of my role in this at La Romita. Is we're going to do some great writing exercises, some of which perhaps would lead into a journal entry such as she's creating here. You know, when I was talking earlier about ekphrasis in that word and image project, you might have noticed how many times I use the word respond, you know, and respond. I actually looked it up to see what kind of definitions there were. And one simple definition is a reaction to some kind of stimulus. And in our context here, I like to think of response as spontaneous, unplanned, just the way you see Melissa spontaneously letting that art emerge. It has such potential to sorry, something just came up on my screen that said I might have switched to a different language.
I think you're still in English.
Oh, I've never seen that before. Anyway, about surprise, the potential to surprise you. I always tell students, when you can't plan a poem, you know, you respond to the image and then the next image and the next. And when you do that, you might be amazed at where you will end up. Something might come to you that you had no idea that you were heading towards. So our goal is not going to be to write poems per se, unless you have an interest in that. You know, never turn your back on the muse, no matter what you're supposed to be doing. If a poem is out there, grab it. But we're going to be experimenting with word prompts and exercises that encourage us to observe, to describe and respond to our amazing surroundings at La Romita, to the sounds, the scents, the tastes. By the way, I've heard the food is worth the trip. And we'll be practicing using words in ways that may end up surprising us. You know, writing is a way of seeing. And sometimes writing results in seeing something in a way you never have before. And sometimes writing enables you to say something you didn't even know you knew until here it comes. And that's exactly what happened to me with this line that Melissa is using here. Sometimes you have to tell a story your entire life to get it right. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's a way to work this in, and I'm not sure if it adds anything or not. Do we have any opinions on that? Do we like the moon? We also have a pink moon. Might be a little too wild, but I never hesitate to give that wild a try. I don't know. I'm kind of liking that. Okay, I'm going with that one. I wouldn't have thought about that. But that's what I do with my journal work is I play, and I don't worry about whether it's going to be perfect or seen by other people. It's just a way for me to express myself and to have some fun. And honestly, it's also a way for me to work through things sometimes.
Mhm.
And sometimes I don't even know that I'm working through things until later on. It might be, years later where I look at that and I think, wow. And then I get it, what I needed and what I did. So you'll see, I kind of turned that, I was going to cut it, but I'm just going to turn it and stick it on the other page. So there's that. And then when I've gotten to this point where I think that the elements are actually down, then I'm going to think about using markers or pencils. I already showed you one of the pencils that we actually covered up completely. And now I'm thinking, what is that one? That's poppy red. That might be a little much. That's carmine pink. And so then again, these are the Derwent Inktense pencils. And I'm just going to try to move around that moon there and make a little something, a little halo to add some interest. And now I'm going to activate it again. Here's my brush. And see if I can show it to you a little bit more, how you can see that it just becomes more than a line when you've got the water on it. And then once it has been activated like that, it is fixed. Yeah, that's just more interesting than having it stuck down.
Mhm.
And I think I'm going to do the same thing on her. Let's just add a little halo around Edith, because we all deserve a halo. We are all of the divine and creators. We are all creators. There we go. And maybe I'll even take some of this gold and kind of fill in her halo there. And this is the part at which I start thinking about unifying a page. So I've got this gold here and I've got it over here. So we're just going to pull a little bit more together over here. And the other thing we could do is give her little doggies a little color and make them show up a little bit more, because you could almost not notice them and they're awfully cute. There. Obviously, she loves her little doggies. There you go.
Wow, they just popped out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Aren't they cute?
Mhm.
Darling, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot more that we could do on this. And I never call something done. Sometimes I play with it years later. Sometimes I leave a page just completely unfinished. So you can start this goofing around with it. And so I would encourage you all to think about, having a journal of your own that you play in. Everybody's looks different. This, I like to work with, these are watercolor journals, so the pages are a lot thicker than a normal journal. And so this one I'd say is going to be enough for demonstration, just to show you sort of how I do it. And you can see the writing here is very small. Sometimes I make it bigger, but this one is, sometimes you have to tell a story your entire life to get it right. And I've credited the author down here with Emily, and identified our Edith right there.
And
So
you have other ones in that little book, don't you? Can you flip?
I do have some other things. Oh, here's one. This is my sweetheart here. And I saw this picture on Facebook that's him holding his cousin when they were children, obviously. And so I've made this spread here, and it says, "Hold me, keep me safe." And here is his St. Christopher medal, because he always wears this around his neck. Let's see what else we have. This is one that actually one of my students at the San Antonio Art League had this from her little niece, that cutout. And so I thought it was so cute. And that one says Dylan Rose stands her ground. That was her name. So this is, yeah, these are all still kind of works in progress. But I do have another journal here that has some of my work in it too. I don't know, this is upside down. Yeah, this is full of some older work. This is what I did at La Romita. I think this was last year. So when we would go to different cities, this is from Tarquinia, I would sketch things out, and this is sketched with an Inktense pencil. And then when I would get home, sometimes I would activate that. So I just want to show you one activated there. So this was one of the girls that was with us, and probably using the same color that I had just used. It was just a regular pencil mark, but then when I activate it, it gives it this vibrancy. So yeah, I want to make everybody a Madonna and celebrate their divine nature. And this is a copy of the stencil I used that we cut in our printmaking at La Romita. And I wrote, her art was her salvation. So that's me and my journaling and my process. And I would love to welcome you all to join us in Italy and do your own art and make your own creations and have us help guide you with your words and with your images. And I'd like to turn the camera, and Alessandro, were you going to show us some pictures maybe?
Yes, absolutely. Melissa, thank you. And Emily, thanks for what you were showing and letting us see your process. That's as you created, and it started from literally the blank canvas into these different elements. And then all of a sudden there was this moment where between the words, the pictures, the colors, the elements, and where they were placed, all of a sudden there was this narrative through the whole thing, all bound together, suggested and cued by Emily's words. It was just a lovely experience. So thank you so much. And this is, precisely, we're so excited to have you doing this workshop this year. This is the sort of thing that we love to do. And La Romita, for those of you who have not been to La Romita, I know that there are a lot of alums on the call, and thanks for being here. Our primary space, what we want to do is provide an environment that feeds and supports this artistic exploration, mixed with the space that you can experience in Italy, which is of course our home. So La Romita is what I'm sharing on the screen right now. This is our beloved structure. It's a 16th century renovated monastery. The windows are closed in this picture, but the sun is bright and the sky is blue, and the colors pop. So and then this is a view from one of our gardens. You can see the outside of with all the flowers and these sorts of serene spaces that we maintain again to kind of help support what you will be doing. This is the studio space, so this is where literally the magic happens. This is the church of the monastery, and you can see it organized, waiting for a workshop to start. And this is what it tends to look like when things are in full swing. We've got these walls that turn into art galleries through the course of the workshop. People working there, the light through the windows. And this is the space is open 24/7. I mean, there's good lighting in there at night, and it's yours. It's for the group to go and use and do as the spirit moves them. And then of course there's food, and at the center, Edmund, as you can see, center leading probably a discussion of what the next day's trip brings. The food that we offer is the best of Umbrian fare. We've got some just amazingly talented cooks who've worked with us for years, and This is not something that you will worry about. You will not worry about how you're going to eat, where you're going to eat, what you're going to eat, and whether or not you'll like it, because it's this amazing. Some views, some gratuitous food shots. And then us, Edmund, if you have anything to add, just pipe in.
A part of La Romita that a lot of people don't get to see and understand is how deep the arts run in the family, and how deep they run like in all of us who are working there. So it's a constant art project, and
I love
so,
the way that you
please.
put it. It's a art project, the whole thing. That's fantastic. I love that. Moving in this little slideshow which I put together, there are a lot of photos that are just, these are photos taken by other groups, other participants. So lots of different views, different eyes, different interests. But I thought it might be interesting to see, you know, what different people were doing. This is from an urban sketching group, and this is a place in Perugia, a fountain. You know, this is actually from Perugia as well, but one of the students inside this beautiful museum, just contemplating these windows. The light in the windows are just amazing. I love them. And just all of these different things that our hope is that this immersion in this foreign but not foreign space, this beauty that is so different from what we typically experience day to day, can serve as sort of that priming, that inspiration that then Emily and Melissa together tease and help you shape and explore. I mean, come on, those mushrooms, these are just, this picture, and when one of our participants sent it to me, and it just leaves me speechless. Those colors and the shapes, and then the contrast with a view like this, or even the details up against a building, in the construction, the architecture, the details. This is one of my favorite streets in all of Italy. It's in Orvieto, and you walk up this street and you can't see this cathedral until you start getting to the end. It just peeks out as you walk towards it. It peeks out, and then you turn a corner and it's hidden, and then it comes back closer and closer, and it looks in this photo as if it was airbrushed into the scene, and it looks that way in real life. It's so stunning that it looks like it can't be real, even when you're looking at it, even when it's right in front of you. And there's always the opportunity for weird things. This was a group in 2019, and there was a auto show actually right outside that same cathedral. So they had all these funky cars and this sort of stuff. It happens. You don't know. Sometimes it's planned. If we know about it, we make sure that you know about it and that it's an opportunity. And sometimes we don't know about it, and you go and say, "Guess what?" And then at the end of it, you come back to La Romita, come home at the end of the day, and go into your artwork. You talk about them with the rest of your group, with your teachers, over dinner, over aperitivos, and wake up and do it again the next day. So that's what La Romita is about. We are looking forward to helping and making this this all happen. We hope that everybody joins, because it's going to be a fantastic workshop.